After the war ends, we are in Jordan. And under the Jordanian regime comes here a group of archaeologists, and you can see like that they found, okay, these are the tents, they come together with the Bedouins, and you can see the ruins that they start excavating, okay, here. And they find, and we'll see it, this is what we're going to see, they find there's a ruin here just next to the caves. And at the same time, when they go, and different Bedouins started going into the caves and try to find more of those scrolls, they also excavate this ruin. The ruin was named by the locals, the Bedouins, they know it as Qumran, okay? And Qumran, actually, we'll mention what it means later. And they deeply excavate here. Roland Devaux was the French archaeologist, came from the Biblique de Ocul, or the Ocul de Biblique, the school of Bible in Jerusalem, and they excavate. And this is from their excavations, okay, they find like storage jars, you can see some of them were complete, some of them are even inscripted in ancient Hebrew. So what are the scrolls, first of all? There are about 900, or some say 931 scrolls that were found. And they divided them into three categories. Most, or the majority, about 40%, is the Bible. Biblical scrolls, all the Hebrew Bible is there. Of course, it's before the New Testament was written. 2nd century BC and 1st century AD. All of them more or less in the same Hebrew letters, the ancient Hebrew, that we will see. And this was the majority. All the scrolls were found. Some say that Easter was kept out. Recently, some voices said that they found it. Okay, I don't think something was published yet, but they say that they found it, which makes a lot of sense since it survived this long. And this is all the Hebrew Bible. The other ones are apocryphal scriptures, meaning books that were written at the same time of the Bible, talking about the same topics, sometimes even interpretations of the books of Genesis, of Habakkuk. There were interpretations that were found with the first scrolls. But for some reason or another, they are not included in the Jewish canon of the Bible. Why and why not? This is another topic. The third one, or the third scroll that they found there, is cultic or communal scrolls, talking about the community. There's the community code of how to live their life, and things that are mentioned there ignited the people's fascination. They call themselves the Yachad community. Yachad means in Hebrew together. Yachad. And one of the scrolls is known as the scroll of the war between the sons of light and the sons of darkness. Interesting. Who are these people? They started asking, and of course they could not ignore the fact that there is a ruin just next to the caves. This ruin was destroyed around the year 67 or 68 AD, during the Great Revolt that we mentioned yesterday. Started at 66 AD in the north, slowly makes its way to Jerusalem, and during that time they already go all around, and it was ruined at around 67, 68 AD. And that's it. It was built once, it was destroyed once. Okay, somewhere it was built also from the 2nd century BC until the 1st century AD. Fits with the scrolls. And I say it because we don't take it for granted, because both things were found in the same proximity, that they are necessarily attached. And we need to prove it, actually, what we find. When they started actually reading the scrolls, especially of the Yachad community, they could not but go back to one of the greatest historians of the time, of course, Josephus. Josephus Flavius, did you mention him? You talked about him in the north? Shortly, he was a commander of the Great Revolt in the Galilee, from a priestly family. He was a writer. And he knew how to smooch his way basically to Vespasian, the emperor, and he kind of prophesied about him. And if you read Josephus, even himself, he says that he has the gift of prophecy, and he was managed to prophesy to Vespasian that he is going to be the emperor, which was true. Vespasian, at the middle of the Great Revolt, 69, is called back to Rome to become the emperor. His son Titus will finish the battle for him. Later, Flavius Silva will end it at Masada, down south. So Josephus started writing, and he wrote the history, and he wrote it as he knew it at his time. He was also based a lot about from other historians. So we actually don't know how much he wrote and how much he took from others. But he pledged that he is saying the truth as he starts writing. And he tells us about 3 schools of philosophy, mostly 3 schools of philosophy at his time. We have the Pharisees, right? Prushim in Hebrew. You went over it? Prushim means to interpret, basically, in Hebrew. Lefaresh. They interpret the text. And this is actually the root of rabbinical Judaism of today. They take the text and they interpret it into practical manners. You have the Sadducees, that was mostly the elite, the priestly families, and that ruled basically Jerusalem and the high priest in the temple. And the third school that he's most somehow is very affectionate with is the Essenes. And as he writes about the Essenes, I will be happy to read just a little bit for you, and if you want, I'll be very happy to send you some more about it, if you want to read more. He says, for the 3 forms of philosophy are pursued among the Judeans, the Pharisees and so on, and I go further, and then he says, and the third school, who certainly are reputed to cultivate seriousness, are called Essenes. Although Judeans by ancestry, they are even more mutually affectionate than the others. Whereas these men shun the pleasures as vice, they consider self-control and not succumbing to the passions virtue. And although there is among them a disdain for marriage, adopting the children of outsiders, while they are still malleable enough for the lessons, they regard them as family and instill in them their principles of character. Without doing away with marriage or the succession resulting from it, they nevertheless protect themselves from the wanton ways of women, having been persuaded that none of them preserves her faithfulness to one man. Since they are despisers of wealth, their communal stock is astonishing. So we talk about a community that lives very poorly or very modestly, without women, at least not marrying women, okay? Their communal stock is astonishing. One cannot find a person among them who has more in terms of possessions. For by law, by a law, those coming into the school must yield up their funds to the order, with the result that in all the ranks, neither the humiliation of poverty nor the superiority of wealth is detectable, but the assets of each one have been mixed in together as if they were brothers to create one fund for all. A lot of clues about these guys. And it somehow, and I don't have the Yachad scroll here, it corresponds with what they write about themselves, about yielding their property, about living together, about equality. And I will go on. No one city is theirs, he says. But we have actually another historian of the time, Philo the Elder, that says that they had one place in the north of the Dead Sea. That's where we are. And they said also there's a farm there that was found, and looking at the archaeology, the shards and so, there was definitely a connection. Okay, the people lived here, worked the farm down there. So, but they settle amply in each. And for those school members who arrive from elsewhere, all that the community has is laid out for them in the same way as if they were their own things. And they go on, and they go in and stay with those they have never even seen before, as if they were the most intimate friends. Sounds familiar? Okay, if we think about Jesus, where did he live? Right, with his brothers. And this is one more thing. If we think about John the Baptist, where did he get all these ideas? It really corresponds with the what we hear about these scenes. And soon we will go to the ruin and we'll see with our eyes, does it fit what we find here? Again, this, and then we also need to prove that it also connects to the scrolls. So I go on. So dress and also deportment of body. Like children being educated with fear. They replace neither clothes nor footwear until the old set is ripped all over or worn through with age. Among themselves, they neither shop for nor sell anything, but each one, after giving the things that he has to the one in need, takes in exchange anything useful that the other has. Toward the deity at least, pious observance and uniquely expressed. Before the sun rises, they utter nothing of the mundane things, but only certain ancestral prayers to him, as if begging him to come up. After these things, they are dismissed by decorators to the various crafts that they have each come to know. And after they have worked sternly until the 5th hour, they are again assembled in one area, where they belt on linen covers and wash their bodies in frigid water. Okay, this is baptism or immersion in water to clean themselves, but not to clean, but to purify themselves. And we'll see that soon. After this purification, they gather in a private hall. Okay, they gather in a private hall in which none of those who hold different views may enter. Now, pure themselves, they approach the dining room as if it were some kind of sanctuary. After they see themselves, and here this says how this fits them, and maybe we'll read it in a moment. And it goes on. Okay, I will not read now everything for you. But this is kind of gives us a hint about the people. Soon we'll go to the ruin and we'll see if it fits with what they found. As you can see, they found a lot of storage jars. This is Bedouin, one of the scroll jars. Look at this. What they found here is actually a lot of pottery. Very simple looking. And I think you can take a look here and look at their pottery. Look, as historians or archaeologists who are coming 2,000 years after the people, that's what we have to basically judge the people, right? If I come to your house and I see your dishware, if it's made of silver or nice clay, I know this was a wealthier person. You go to a simple purpose house and you see simple dishes. When you look at these dishes, this is very simple. There's no ornaments on it. There's nothing. It's very practical. Very practical people who were not obsessed with showing off, or I would say, or anything of that matter. Very, very simple. And on some of the dishes, there's even writings. Okay?
Is that the original or is that reproduction?
These, I think, originals. These are originals, yeah. So the writings that you see are actually, they number the shards and then they connect them together. And what they found there, I will show you where they found it, okay? They found basically, if you look at it carefully, it used to be a wardrobe, shelves, and it fell, collapsed, and everything broke just on sight as it was. But very simple, all of them look the same.